Welcome to episode 8 of Education, a Clusterfuck in Need of Repair. This episode is entitled Sunday Salon, Educators in Search of Repairs. Before we start, I'd like to emphasize that all ideas presented in this podcast are my own and do not reflect the thoughts, opinions, or positions of my employer, Emerson College, its programs, or its representatives. Even the chance to talk about what we do in that room, that's disappearing. What do you want to tell the world about teaching, learning, education? What do you most want other people to know? Welcome to episode 8 of Education, a Clusterfuck in Need of Repair. This episode is entitled Sunday Salon, Educators in Search of Repairs, and it requires a bit of backstory. I was feeling like an imposter for presenting ideas about teaching and learning in K through 12 schools since I hadn't taught in one for 20 plus years. I felt the need to learn more from the people who hold that knowledge, teachers. So I borrowed an idea from the 18th century. You know, the source of all new ideas. In France, in the 1700s, women held salons. The salon, the North American pronunciation, I'll stick with that, was a private social gathering where a mix of guests, mostly women, came together to openly discuss art, literature, philosophy, music, and politics. They were an opportunity to encounter new ideas, sometimes radical ones, in various fields, and so they contributed to the spread of Enlightenment thought. The salon became a cultural institution as women discovered how good it feels to say what you think. It seems like a good time to give teachers and educators of all kinds that opportunity. That way, I learn what I don't know, and we bring the combined weight of a dozen or so fine minds with decades of experience to bear on the problem we currently face. Unbelievable stupidity and clusterfuckery in education. What follows is the hour I spent talking to teachers about different aspects of the world they know, the world of teachers and learners, the world of school, with an eye towards what they might change if they could. The topic was, what do you want to tell the world about teaching, learning, education? What do you most want other people to know? I hope you are as inspired, entertained, and touched as I was by the impressive intellect and giant hearts of these teachers.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, nice to see you.
It is nice to see you too. Aaron has apparently become an angel since I last saw him.
Durr, you know it.
I would like to say that only in a group of teachers would everybody be so prompt. This is astounding, okay? It's 3:00 and the numbers of people who are here, it's like, yep. Okay, we're just going to start because I only have an hour to squeeze every bit of juice I can out of you guys. And I plan to do some squeezing, okay? I really appreciate you doing this and dealing with all the hoopla of this. It's astounding to me that people are willing to do that. I'd like to introduce Stephanie Grady, who's she is running the Zoom because she's a monster of efficiency. And that is the number one reason we're starting right on time. So if you have questions, if something comes up and there's some problem in your Zoom hookup or whatever, just put it in the chat. Steph's monitoring the chat and she'll answer you. And as I mentioned, monster of efficiency, she will get that fucker done, okay? I'm sorry, there's not like a room full of teachers just makes me want to swear. I do not know why. Are there any questions before we dive into this event? I was going to do it with a huge powdered wig on, but props and costumes are closed at Emerson, and who has that kind of money, really? So Um, okay. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, and I'm going to ask you, because we only have an hour, I'm asking for this introduction. I have to get the angle right, not this introduction. Every single person here has years of experience and stuff. So I'm going to just ask you to give me your name, the grade or grades that you teach, and your number of years on the job. And we're going to do a brief warm-up thing in breakout rooms that will not be recorded, and then we'll dive into the meat of this salon. And perhaps when you come back, I will do a French accent, which would be very poor for the entire hour. It is hard to know what I am capable of. Okay, that's more amorphous Eastern European, but we'll go with it. All right, I'm going to start with Susan. Can you tell us, please, your name, the grades you teach, and the number of years you've been doing it?
My name is Susan Choquette, and I currently teach at the high school level, secondary school, 9 through 12, but I've taught at other levels. And I'm currently in my 25th year at where I'm teaching now, but I have about 30 years in.
That is unbelievable. Holy shit. Okay. Ryan.
So I'm Ryan Roop. I teach at the Francis W. Parker Charter School in Devens, Massachusetts. I have been teaching there for this is my 20th year, and I teach mostly 11th and 12th graders now. In the past, I taught mostly 9th and 10th graders, but I've made a new career for myself as a senior advisor, which is very exciting.
I like the advising part of my job, honestly. Okay, Alec, hit it.
Hi there, I'm Alec Keeling. I teach K to 5, and this is my 25th year in that position.
Jesus Christ. Okay, Erin, you're up.
Hi, I'm Erin. I'm a first year teacher and I teach K through 8 in Lowell. It's freaking awesome.
Andrea.
Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Underhill Curtin, and I teach grades 6, 7, and 8. And this is my 8th year teaching.
Alex.
Hey guys, I'm Alex. I'm a theater teacher and a Montessori teacher. I teach mostly elementary. Right now I'm working with 4th through 6th graders. And I've been doing it for like 5, 6, 7 years. I don't know.
That is unbelievable to me. Okay, Samantha. Well, I don't know what you prefer to go by as a professional.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sammy Day. I teach in New York City theater arts, grades 6 through 8, and this is my 8th year in the Department of Education.
Susana.
Hello, all. Thank you, Bethany. I'm Susana Ramirez Cruz. I teach in all different types of communities. So I start as young as newborns all the way to sages. Currently, I'm at Emerson College in performing arts and College Unbound with adult learners as well. And it's been over 30 years for me.
Brian.
My name is Brian Gold. I am currently teaching 9th and 10th grade, and this is my 9th year of teaching.
Amelia.
Hello there. I teach at Emerson College, all grades there, freshman through senior, 30 plus years, 25 full-time at Emerson.
Astounding. Joan.
Hi, my name is Joan Shubin. I teach middle school theater, grades 6th, 7th, and 8th at the public school level, and I am in year 10 at my school.
Aspen.
Hi everyone, I'm Aspen Marshall. I have been teaching about 7 years. I've been at my current school for 4 years and it's 9 through 12. This year I'm teaching 11 and 12. I'm primarily a theater teacher, but this year I'm also teaching like the senior thesis civic class.
As we all do. You're lucky
Yeah.
it's not phys ed because that happens too. Okay, Lamar, hit it.
Hello, my name is Lamar Archer. I currently teach grades 6 to 8. I taught high school before, and this is my 8th year as a teacher, theater arts teacher. Yeah.
Okay. Akiba? Your name, the grades you teach, and how many years you've done it.
Hello, my name is Akiba Abaka. I teach public school, grades kindergarten to 8th grade. This is I teach theater. This is technically my first week as a public school teacher, technically. However, I have been teaching this age group and from ages 3 to 84 as a teaching artist for 30 years in the theater.
Okay. Those are great. For those of you who are here as observers, if you want, if you could turn off your mic and your camera, that would be great. If you stay, we're going to treat you like full participants. You know, it just depends on what kind of juice you bring today. But we're going to divide you into breakout rooms for a few minutes because creating some sense of community in a group this large is really, really challenging. I do want to say something first. The astounding amount of experience in this Zoom room. This is how many people here? A dozen people, something like that, right? That's a lot of experience. And if you multiply that by the number of teachers in this country, that is fucking amazing. All right. And to ignore the wisdom of that many people with that many years of experience is absolutely moronic. Okay, I'm better now. I had to say it because I'm bad. We're going to put you in breakout rooms because by the media, by people who talk about education, by the data, we're all lumped together, right? People who teach kindergarten lumped together with people who are doing senior advising, and that's been the nature of it for a good 10 years. But we're actually not the same as each other. We are not teacher. We are also teacher. So what I'd like you to talk about in the Zoom room, in your group of 3, you're going to be in groups of 3. Let me count 3, 6, 9, 12. Well, groups of 3 in one pair. I want you to find 2 things you have in common as teachers and no low-hanging fruit. I teach kids. Yes, of course you do. But something a little more that will prime the pump of your brain to make this event worthy of being called a salon. Okay? So, 2 things that you have in common, and one big difference between the 2 of you relative to teaching, because we are not the same, right? We have similarities, but we are not the same. So Steph is going to magically transform you into breakout rooms. Bing, 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 bing. It's like magic. Oh, a little tiny person. So in your group, I just want to hear one from each group. What is the most important similarity that you found? Yeah, Alec.
We're still invested in what we do. We're still finding enjoyment in it. We're still doing it.
Yes, I would say that's a very important similarity. Okay, another group. What was the most important similarity, Joan?
We are all at the public school level and full-time theater arts position at the public school level.
Yeah, that given what happened in 2008 and how they predicted that the arts would be gone, that is a loud statement. Okay. All right, another group, please.
Tom and I found, I beg your pardon.
No,
Tom
go
and I
with
found
it.
one similarity in that short time. We just enjoyed each other's company. So our similarity is really an appreciation and a use of deep listening and response to students. Listening.
That's great. Yeah, Alex.
One of our biggest similarities was that we all agreed that we believe students want to do well.
Yep. I'm not sure if you are all a group of core subject teachers right now, that would be a universal, but I believe that it's true. Okay, there was one more group. Where are you hiding? Or was that the last group? Also possible. My counting, I'm not a math teacher, you know.
I think it was us.
It was
So
you? Okay.
yeah, me, Erin, and Brian. We also kind of brought it back to one of the podcast episodes, and we talked about like the necessity of connecting with kids outside of the classroom in order to find true success and keep them motivated in the class.
That's a great one. Okay. Um, I'm curious about the differences. If you had, I don't need to hear one from every group, but if there was a difference that made you go like, oh, wow. I am curious what it is. You don't have to tell me.
One that made me kind of happy and interested in the group I was working in is that we all worked in very different teaching environments. College, diversity, notable lack thereof, cities versus more rural communities. It's nice that we have those differences.
Nice. Any others?
Ours was not education based. Lamar asked us
A little rule breaker.
where else. Lamar asked us where else we've worked, like what else we've done, and we all discovered that we've worked in the food industry, even if just for a week.
Raise your hand if you have worked in the food industry. Yep. Welcome to hell. I myself can lay claim to both Dunkin' Donuts and Burger King, as well as Pizza Hut. But I would say I raise Burger King because I was fired from that job, and Dunkin' Donuts because it was the grossest job ever. And I behaved more poorly in that job than I have in any job in my life. Okay. I do want to point out that the Cinnabons, that was after my time. I do want to point out that the even the chance to talk about what you think you're doing in that room is something that has disappeared. That used to be a really common thing when I was teaching, when I was public school teaching. That was part of what we did in every department meeting. And one of the things that I've noticed is that is disappearing, that the connection between teachers is not something that's fostered the same way that it used to be. And that I don't know if it's seen as a threat, I don't know, but it's when you are grouped with teachers, the focus is on what that group of teachers needs to accomplish in order to meet the demands of the state, the subject area, whatever. Anyway, okay. I sent this question along before because I want you to have a chance to think about it. And this is one where you get about 1 minute to answer it at the most. When you decided to become a teacher, what did you think you would get out of it? And what did you get? And what didn't you get? And I will answer this as well. When I decided to become a teacher, I thought it would be fun. And because you get to use your mind and you get to create stuff and you get to do it with kids who are almost always interested in whatever kind of bullshit you can generate. And for a long time, that was true. It was fun. And now, one of the things that offends me the most and caused me to create this podcast, it has become less fun. And even to some extent, unfun. And that's my answer to it, about how long you have to say yours. So who's willing to go next? Alec.
I concur with the fun, and will save myself a few seconds by concurring. I specifically came into teaching because I grew up in a time where conformity was king, and it took me until 8th grade to start to develop any kind of sense of self, which is, in my opinion, as an educator, too late. I joined the drama club. It opened up a whole new world. I figured out much more about who I was. In coming into teaching, it was because I wanted to help others kind of be able to find a sense of themselves and also a sense of community. And I do think that working with young people is fun and brings a sense of joy. I got much of that. What has changed for me is not the fact that I get it, because there is still fun every day, not all day every day, but every day there is some piece of fun. What changed for me is the ratio of how much fun and student identity I get to work with versus how much is paper pushing.
Yep. Who's willing to go next? Yeah, Aspen.
So I was thinking a lot about what made me want to go into teaching, and it was watching other people teach and helping them make those aha moments happen for students, and just like watching like the key go into the lock and like something just expands, and the idea of really co-creating art together. And there has definitely been a lot of that, but my eyes have been opened working in an urban charter school where there's like a lack of resources and also a big lack of proper management. But I've been thinking a lot the past couple years about just how much inequity we have from district to district in every state. And I've been also reflecting a lot on your podcast episode about standardized testing and how that's just completely watered down our curriculum, because I have to work, I think, so much harder than I thought I would just to get students engaged and interested and believing that they can enjoy learning, because so many of them, I mean, I'm getting them in high school and they just kind of come to me already like, school's not for me. Like, I'm not gonna like anything I do here. Sorry if that was too long-winded.
No, that was good. Yep, Joan.
Like everyone else, I thought it would be really fun. I thought it would be really meaningful, especially at the middle school level, which is such a turning point developmentally. And I did get a lot of buy-in, and I got a lot of like excited kids. I would say that has dropped off a little bit since COVID. I know we hate to like blame COVID, but there has been a significant noticeable shift. What I didn't get was leadership. People at the leadership level, supervisors or principals or administrators that take the time to understand theater arts and how we fit into the square peg that is the public school system. And just the baffled looks on these people that make six figures a year is just astounding. That's what I didn't get, and that was surprising, for sure.
Sammy?
What I think I went into was wanting to really create quality arts instruction. And I think like with the New York City public schools, we talk a lot about the arts being at the forefront. In my first school, I was able to create a program. My school had never had one before. And I think what I really wanted is student choice and really having every student be able to find a space in these creative classes where they felt respected and seen and heard. And in the school that I'm in now, we do give them choice. They get to choose which arts instruction they want to be a part of for 2+ years after trying them all in 6th grade. And that is so fun and engaging to them. And I found that it helps with absenteeism and giving them a space where they want to be. And I think that just unlocking that creativity and imagination is something that I wanted to really enter the space with. And something that I find I struggle with is because of testing and grades, and especially in New York City, getting into high schools that you have to apply for and all of these things. What the kids are saying is this for a grade? Like, what does this count? What's my grade? How did I succeed in this very academic way? And I'm like, yes, grading is a piece of it. It's a part of it. But what are we making and building and creating together? That's the more important piece. So just spreading that message. And I think that's something that, a lot of arts instructors are struggling with right now.
Alex?
I'm gonna jump in first with the fun, because that is definitely what drew me to teaching, drew me to working with young people, even since I was a young person. And I definitely have gotten that in different places, working in different and teaching in different ways. But the things that have taken away from that fun and away from the joy of, I mean, my thing as a teacher is I want to instill a sense of autonomy in my young students and the joy I get from that. And what takes away from that is the number of schools I've worked at, particularly independent schools, that have been parent facing over student well-being and students' actual needs. If the parent doesn't want to hear it, then it doesn't happen for the student. And that has been really hard to come up against as someone who I just really care.
You work in a Montessori that's a private school?
I do currently, and this is the most actual child-centered school I've ever worked at, thankfully.
Okay. Brian.
I actually was a career changer. So I was a stage manager, and then I was looking for something more stable, but also I had always wanted to be a teacher. That had just was something in my blood. And so when I joined as a teacher, what I thought I was going to be getting was a lot of support, which is not something I immediately got. But I also, in the lack of support, I ended up, I taught 10 subjects my first year as a special education teacher in Harlem. And I have gotten so much of the ability to now teach math and science and English and things that I stayed away from at Emerson and everywhere, you know, you name it. But I've gained the abilities to do all these things because of that. And I've also noticed that what we're lacking, back to the standardized testing, is I have sophomores right now that will not submit an essay unless they know that they're going to get a better grade. And it's all about the grades. So I'm going to stop there and figure out how to remute myself.
Okay. Andrea.
So I went with like a short words. I know you're surprised, but I thought that I was going to be getting, fulfillment and like rewards and a satisfying feeling. And what I did get were the best and worst days of my life. And what I did not get is a real clear understanding of like knowing how long I will be able to keep doing this.
Yep. Susan.
I think I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher, probably since kindergarten, or I was going to be a teacher. And then when I got really involved in theater and music as a kid growing up and had teachers that inspired me, who were those arts teachers, that's when I knew that I wanted to do that. That's what I wanted to do. And then I went through college and had, as an undergrad, got my degree in music ed and also minored in theater, and had not a great experience, to the point where when I graduated, I wanted nothing to do with teaching. I was never going to be a teacher. And so I fought it for a long time. And I worked in other things. I worked in healthcare, I worked in banking, I worked in higher ed. I was not going to be a teacher. And part of the thing I think that kept me away from it was I just thought there had to be a better way. And I think low salary. I think the lack of respect that teachers have historically had, because it's primarily a profession filled with females, and but you can run, but you can't hide. And so eventually the draw of teaching, just, I was working in all of these other jobs. I was not feeling fulfilled. I had a license to teach, and I just said, you know what, I'm just going to dive in head first and try this. At the end of that first semester, I wasn't really sure I would stick with it. And by the end of the school year, I thought, this is who I am. This is where I am. And so initially started teaching music, and then went to Emerson, got my master's in theater ed, and then have been primarily teaching theater since.
Yeah, Kiba.
So I'm a pusher. I'm a theater dealer. I'm your theater pusher woman. I came into teaching from 15 because I wanted more people to see more theater. I love theater, and I wanted to proliferate theater. So that's it. I just want people, it's selfish. I want people, children, adults, community. I want everybody to get in the theater, to get some of this theater.
Okay.
What I have, my colleague Underhill, did I say your name right?
Andrea.
Andrea, I think she disappeared. No,
No.
Andrea, made a great point, about, so this is my first week as an official union, full-time Boston Public School teacher. Hearing you say that made me realize, oh, that's get that's the antithesis of my mission. And I think I should face that.
Okay. Somebody else. Susanna.
I was invited to TA when I was 13. It was really another set of hands. And after that, I continued teaching because it was a fun gig until I was in a community center and a child during a dress rehearsal stuffed her hand down her throat. And I was quite puzzled by what I was looking. I didn't have the tools. I was later told that that was her reaction when she was anxious and she was scared. It wasn't shared with me before. Her mother was a heroin user when she was carrying her, and she too was a heroin addicted to heroin. That was the moment for me where I realized that what I got out of it was I'm not here for product anymore to do the show. It was the process. And that's always stayed with me. And what I haven't gotten out of it, I'll keep it in the present tense, is that going back to that little one, that we still have to climb so many hills for so many folks to understand the power of the work we do in whatever arena that we find ourselves in to create that change, to save lives, if that's the phrase we use, or to simply have someone who's always there. So.
Okay. Anyone else who wants to share something? Lamar.
Yes, like Alec, I went in wanting the kids to experience what I experienced in high school. I wanted them to see the joy of theater and experience the joy of having a space to gather with like-minded individuals who wanted to do the same things that you wanted to do, you know? After I left college and I started teaching, there was a lot of joy and rewards and a lot of lessons I had to learn. Um, but I found that there wasn't enough time given to do the work. There was enough time given to actually get the kids where I wanted them to be. For example, in Jamaica, every single month I had to give a theater test every single month. So I had to be preparing them for that. Or for the end of the year, they had to do the Caribbean examination. So I had to prepare them for that. And so there was not enough time to actually do the work and, to work with them. And even when I got to the US and I started teaching here, I realized the limited time that was given to the theater department to teach classes, the little time that we were given, I realized that not we weren't given the same amount of time as the core subject areas. And so time was one of the things that I didn't get. Yeah.
Yep. Anyone else? You don't have to say anything. I'm not the king of the world. Though one day, sure I will be Ryan.
I just wanted to say briefly that I think a thing that's a little different about me from a lot of the people here is that I went into teaching really thinking of myself as a core subject teacher. I wanted to be a history teacher was the original idea, which I still am sort of. And I got involved in working at a school that said, we read our Ted Sizer books and we think that teachers should be generalists. And what that means is that as long as you're doing the humanities, you're going to just teach kind of whatever we want and kind of whatever you want. And so I've learned a lot about my capacity to teach things that I don't really know very much about. I learned that I really love theater enough to go and get a degree in teaching theater so that I would be competent at it when kids ask me questions. And it was very expensive, but it was worth it. And that's, what I got out of it
And
was,
you're still paying it off. Yeah.
no, I'm not. Thank you, Joe Biden.
Congratulations.
But no, but I think the main thing that I learned were really lessons about teaching is a job that is about developing your own attentiveness and care for other people and developing your patience, kind of for the adults that you work with, but mostly because you're working with people who just are at an age where it's very hard for them not to put themselves first. So you have to put the organization and the group and the thing that they get to do first, and being the person who holds the excitement for, we are all gonna do this design project, or we're going to make a devised play, and oh my god, it's so much fun, can you imagine, and wanting to be anywhere else. That's what I learned.
Okay. Erin, do you want to go? You're the last one. Go, baby.
Oh, awesome. Okay. Well, the most truthful answer is the person in this room, Andrea Underhill, made me want to be a drama teacher, but hiring me as a summer camp counselor. And like the connection and the funness of it was like, yeah, no, who wouldn't want that? And mind you, it is my first year, so there's so much I'm still learning every single fucking day, and it's crazy, especially at the school that I am at.
There's no need to swear on a podcast, Erin.
Man, I'm
offended.
Especially in front of Bethany Nelson.
I know.
But
I
really
am a
just
person
thought
of
that through.
stature, okay?
Maybe if you wore the wig, maybe I wouldn't have sworn. I don't know.
I know. I couldn't afford the wig.
Well, and I've talked to my coworkers about this who are parents, because I'm also not a parent. So the viewpoint of this is kind of warped. But I think teaching has felt way more like parenting than I've ever thought it would. Like, and these kids connecting to me like way faster than I thought they would. And like that's a huge positive, but it's also just a huge, like, every single day, like, I leave and I'm like, oh, I don't know what their afternoon's going to be like, and I don't know what kind of mood they'll be in tomorrow, and like just how much it takes over my brain, and like know what to talk to, because like who do you talk to about that? But overall, it is fun and rewarding.
Those were such rich, excellent answers. But I have to move on because time is biting my ass. If you, sorry, not really. That's a metaphor.
I have a good follow-up question really fast if you
Sure.
that he put in the chat. And if we want to just keep it in the chat, that's fine too. But he asked, for those who have shared about the diminishing of fun in the job, at what point did the fun drop off? Was it exhaustion? Was it bureaucracy? For someone at the start of their teaching career not in public schools, what advice would you provide in hindsight?
Okay, this is going to take forever. But that's a Tom question. Tom always asks questions that are, he'll go, can I just ask you a quick question? That is a trick. Don't fall for it. But if you have a short answer to that for yourself, can you give me the short answer so that we can move to the meat of this? Yeah, Alec.
The short answer is, when I was willing to give over much of my own personal time to the job, I wasn't as pushed to get through things. But when I wanted to have my own personal life that included a partner and children and things that I wanted to do outside of this job, it became hard to balance. And my advice, if there is any, is to set those boundaries earlier than I did, to make the balancing act easier on yourself.
Alex, what were you going to say?
I was going to say coming up against out of touch administrations for really basic or maybe not basic social emotional needs for my kids.
Yeah. Okay, and that is actually an invitation I'm going to extend at the end of this hour, but we'll get there. So the main question of this salon, oh God, I wish I just had some tea and maybe some nice finger sandwiches to give you. But anyway, if you could tell the world one thing about teaching, learning, education, and have it be believed, right? And have it be believed, what would it be? I want you to think about, what do you most want other people to know about this job, this world? Alec, you are always first, and I appreciate that. Go.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep grabbing the mic, but I know time is money in a
Time is
podcast.
precious, my friend. Yes.
I want people to know that it's not just a balancing act between your personal life and your professional life. It is also, I think, one of the biggest balancing acts out there as a vocation, because teaching is not a business, but education is run like a business. And you are coming up against shareholders that are federal, state, district level, colleagues, administrators, the students themselves, who should be the biggest shareholders, and they are not. And in addition to the level of shareholdery that's happening to education, there's a constant switch. I can look around my building and tell you exactly who's been there as long as I have. And let me tell you something, it's the teachers, not the administrators. So what the administrator 3 years ago thought was the most important thing, that went with the wind when that administrator left. So you are constantly relearning where they want your emphasis.
Akiba.
Alec, can you please drop the mic? That's a mic drop. Thank you. Very good. So years ago, a damaged and hurt human being once said to me about teaching, about me being a teacher, "Oh, those who can't do, teach." Yeah, big time. But what I'd like people to know is those who can do, teach. Mic drop.
Okay, someone else, please. Alex.
Mine answers kind of from the learning perspective, and just an observation I see within my sphere of students is, I think children, or a lot of children, are too busy to learn. They're too supervised to learn. They're not able to engage with themselves and their peers in a non-structured way, in ways that we were when we were children, and I see that impeding on their ability to learn all the time.
Yep. Someone else.
I'm going to say two things because I wrote them down ahead of time so I can do it efficiently. First one is about teaching. I want to say that I would like everyone to believe that teaching is about coaching kids to work with you, the teacher, to develop their abilities. That means you need to know what they can do and under what circumstances they can do it, what the next step for each kid is, and how to help motivate them to take that step. It is not about discovering their talent, because the best way to discover kids' talent is to be bad at teaching. The other thing I want to say, because I've done some NEASC visits in my life, is that the number one thing that schools are working on, and none of them understand that this is what they're working on, is that teachers don't talk to each other enough. There isn't time for it, and they don't realize how starved they are for it. In especially public school settings, it is really alarming to me how much teachers aren't allowed to collaborate and share their wisdom with each other, and their wisdom about their students, who they could help much better if they were able to communicate.
Yeah, we are afraid of letting teachers talk to each other now. It's brutal. Somebody else. Susan.
Yeah, I think a couple of things. Number one, and this has been said already a little bit, but I over the years, I've just gotten so sick and tired of hearing people talk about how much time teachers have off, about their short work days, about all of that. And every teacher that I've ever taught with, and especially the teachers that I work with in the arts, we work double time. You couldn't pay us enough for the amount of work, the amount of time that we spend away from our families, doing our work. And I'm not complaining, because I love what I do, but I'm so tired of hearing people talk about, oh, you get all those vacations and, and I'm just, no, come walk a mile in my shoes, friends, and you'll see. And the other thing, and this is to Alex's point, I think that, I feel like not only do administrators sort of experiment with our children, but the state for sure. I feel like there are, every 3 years or so, we have these new initiatives. We have DDMs, we have this, we have that, we have all of these things that come through, and then they just kind of disappear. Like we spend all of our professional time working on these initiatives because they're supposed to be important. And then 3, 4, 5 years later, we never hear about them again. And I just feel like our kids have been guinea pigs, and we need to simplify. We need to get back to basics. And I think teachers know what those things are, and if people would just listen to the teachers, I think we'd get farther. So that's all.
Sammy.
I agree. Just to start off with underutilizing the teachers and their knowledge of their classrooms. I think, we're with our students every day, all day, and we know them so well. And we know, if we are connected, what we can do together to make sure that every student is getting what they need. But aside from that, I also want to say that being an arts teacher, arts classes are important. And I feel so often students are pulled from our classes, and teachers use our classes as a way to be like, go run around and have fun. And yeah, we have a lot of fun, and sometimes we certainly do run around. But it is so important, those classes and what we do has so much meaning, and it's so special to us and to our students and what we're able to create there together. And I think, for 7 years, plus 8 years now, I think the arts is starting in a little bit more, especially in my school now, to feel really valued and understood as something that helps students to succeed everywhere. But the general tone, I've heard so many students tell teachers, like, don't worry about what you learn in that class. It doesn't matter. Your math grade matters. Your ELA score matters. Are they doing anything important? Probably not. I'm going to pull them out, and meanwhile, they're in a group. They're learning how to collaborate. They're performing a scene. They're devising. They're doing all these important things. And if they miss it, they are missing so much quality time fostering these skills that are so important. And I think the kids often don't want to leave and go to the specials, and that creates a little bit of tension. But I know everything is important, but so are we. And we need that time to feel valued and important, because we are.
Erin, and then Andrea.
Okay, I would be remiss if I didn't bring this up. If I could let everybody know in America that nobody has time for gender reassignment surgeries in their classroom, and that's not happening, and a queer teacher is not pushing their queer ideology on their kids. They are just being a visible representation for them, and that needs to happen. That's also why I wanted to be a teacher, just to be like, oh, cool, I can, be a successful person one day. So just clearing the air to everybody. But that's not happening. We don't even have enough time to talk to each other, much less be getting our medical degrees. Thank you.
Hey, Andrea, and then Joan.
Yeah, so I went all over the place with this question because I don't think that there's one answer, right? And I think ultimately what I discovered was no matter what direction I was going, there was a theme, and the theme was learning. And I think I just want people to know that teachers are still learning as we go. We kind of have to. So we don't have all the answers, and we know things about certain kids and families, and we know so much about experiences they've had, and we know so much about using the stage and blocking and trying to teach, how to hold yourself in a proud way. But there's so much we don't know too, because we're human. And so I think that I'd like everybody to know that we're all playing for the same team at the end of the day, regardless of how fulfilled or unfulfilled we feel from that one day.
Joan?
I was just gonna say, yeah, the gender assign, the absolute nonsense that is said, y'all, I teach the gayest subject ever. You think what are we doing here? What do you think is happening? I just wish yeah, I wish that people knew that a lot of the rules that we have to adhere, at least at the public level, and I'm a public school in New Jersey, things that we have to adhere to, or lack of time or scheduling issues. These decisions are being made by people that are not in the classrooms at all, and we are just at the mercy and the face of these poor decisions or questionable decisions. They're not the faces attached to it. We're the faces attached to it. So like if you're gonna go on and rip us apart on Reddit, like have some perspective and just take a step back for a second. Because I don't want half the shit that's happening here, but I gotta do it. They need health insurance.
No, we're not driving the bus. Yep, Susanna?
One thing is that learning never begins or ends within a building. It's an energy with the responsibility of a community. And in that, whatever definition of community, government, country, region, but it should not be solely dedicated to the doors you enter and the doors you exit.
Nice.
Can I get some soundbite, like the recording? Are you going to send them to us? Because I
I'm
need
going
these
to
folks.
make sound bites that I use on the podcast, and so I can get those to you.
I need that one, and I'm going to put that on my wall in my green room at school, please.
Brian.
All right, I think this works now. So basically, I think that everybody should understand that we do our best to do the standardized testing and all those things. However, the 5 minutes that we are able to connect with students on a personal level is the most important 5 minutes. So if they get a 98 instead of a 100, I'm not sorry, because it's really important that we're actually talking to kids and learning about them. Bethany said it on the podcast before, but I have, especially not being a theater teacher, like I know that someone who didn't do math for 15 years and then had to do it, I didn't believe in myself. And I've had to turn that around and help teachers and students understand that we can all learn whatever we want, but we need that 5 minutes. And it might take away from something else that you want as a parent, but I'm now a parent too. And I know that I would much rather have my kid understand that people are looking out for them than being able to pass the test with a higher score.
Okay. Is that Aspen? Did you say something?
Ooh, I did have something. I want people to know that education is a clusterfuck in need of repair. I feel like, if you're not a teacher, you, I think everything is fine. And there are a lot of things that are not fine. Like, it is a broken system, and there are a lot of things that make it broken, which you've talked about in your podcast, but like the problems are too big for individual teachers to solve. As others have commented on, like we're a lot of times at mercy of the state, at the mercy of our administrations, and we're all just doing our best. But yet it's kind of this irony, because I think like the people that are most qualified to say the ways the system that needs to change are us, and we don't have that power or that voice to speak up about how the system needs to change or actually enact it. But I certainly know that like it's not solved by additional standardized testing. And like one of the things that we can do is infuse more creative problem solving back into the curriculum and pull back and create more meaningful connections with students. Because again, it's like just such a watered down version of education that they're getting at this point.
Yeah, Amelia.
I just want to lift up a couple, so many things, but something that Susanna said about energy, and also something that Aspen mentioned earlier about being present when the key and the lock connect. And I wanted to, Susanna gave me this permission, I think, to just say, I feel like teaching is an energetic act. Do you know, it's an act of exchanging energy, and nobody can pay me enough to care about your child. Right, so something extra is happening there that I think is not understood and appreciated. Here we all are absolutely caring about our jobs and our people and the students. And so I look at it as an energetic act from the time I walk in the room, spiral that shit out and make something happen at the end of it that changes the energy in the room. So I would like to say that.
Nice. Okay. Well, now you made me cry. Give me a minute. When you get older, crying happens all the time. I used to say, I never cry. And then I would cry and I'd be like, this is an exception. Forget it. If I'm not crying, that's the exception now. Goddamn age. Okay. I do want you to think just for a second, what makes it so hard to get those messages out there? Um, and consider whether there is currently a vehicle for doing so. And that might be a whole different salon. Like it, they can crank out some of the most reductionist bullshit. I was reading a comment um, in the chat about Reddit. It's like if we can sell that kind of crap, then there are vehicles for selling something that's actually true and positive as opposed to negative and distorted. And so I guess we don't have time to talk about it, but I'd like you to think about it. And if you come up with something, send it to me. The other thing is, when I was setting this up, I talked to somebody who couldn't be here today, but she was talking about how she does stuff in her classes to facilitate learning for her kids. And it's all on kind of on the down low, right? It's like, this is our little secret thing we're doing that's not really within the rule structure of the school or their expectations for what I'm supposed to be doing in here, but I do it anyway. And in order to make the kids succeed. And I was like, wow, how many, when I say stuff you do on the down low to help kids learn, I'm curious what jumps into your mind. And I can't give you an example from my current situation, but I can tell you from in the past where I used to, I didn't use the kind of bad language I use now, but I told the truth to middle school kids, and they could not believe that I was telling them the truth about stuff and about why schools are set up the way they are, the reason that we're trying to control their behavior every minute of every day by acting like everything they do is going to show up on their permanent record and all that stuff. And so my whole career has been on the down low in some ways, but I'm curious, when I say that, what jumps into your mind? Alec.
First to the mic again. I tier the teaching, but I'm honest with the kids about it. I tell my classes at the start of the year, I am not here to make you all better speakers or better actors or better performers. And I break them into groups where they self-identify their comfort level with drama class. And for each of the, sometimes I do 3, sometimes I do 4, but for each tier, I'm honest with them and say, you love this class, then I want you to push yourself this year to pick one skill that you want to get better at. And all the way down to the friends who are, gosh, this is the hardest hour for me of the week. This is the one I get nervous about when the special is coming. I say, I'm not here to make you be better on stage. I'd like you to find one thing this year that you enjoyed where you can tell me at the end of the year, that project was fun. I liked coming for that project, so I can do more of that. And I'm honest with them about the fact that they're not all going to like what we're doing. And that my big push is to make them feel comfortable in the class, not to push them to achieve more.
Andrea.
This is like a hard left turn from Alex's like gorgeous response, but I am like such an empathetic dork. Like I am an empath through and through to the kids, so I feel for them. And I'm like such a nerd. Like I perform for them and I say things that are going to embarrass them, but not in like a degrading way, just like I try to use the words they use. Like I'll be like, no cap, it's gonna happen. And they're like, please stop. And I'll be like, why? That wasn't cool. Okay. So I think they don't know that part.
I'm going to leave this because I said it would go till 4 and I have I can't believe you're giving part of your Sunday for this. God bless you. But I do, if you can, if you want to stay for a few minutes or might be willing to talk to me about it later, one of the episodes that I'm working on is about principals and school-based administration and its impact on your function as a teacher. Yes, we ended a bit abruptly. As you may have guessed, I'm afraid I was born without the gracious gene. I seem to have gotten a double serving of blunt and direct with a hefty side of profane. But what I will leave you with is a quote from Susan, one of the participants. I think if people would just listen to the teachers, we'd get farther. As always, thank you for listening. I hope I get the chance to speak with some of you at our next salon in a couple of months. Watch for notifications on Instagram and listen to my podcast. It was the high point of my month. If you have time, please post a review or share this with someone you think it might be useful for. And if you want to respond to this episode, you can DM me in my Instagram account, education, CLUSTERF_CK, or email me at education, CLUSTERFCK@gmail.com. Thank heavens we avoided the profanity by cleverly disguising it with those titles. Okay.
J like the letter, I'm making several waves. I know the mission is same. I made a splash, now all of my passes last like running a race with Usain. I keep it coming like this is a buffet. And if I'm stumbling, I'm in the graves. Never gon' fumble it. I get the bag and I run with it, gunning it, gunning it, gunning it, gunning it.